Olympic National Park features a spectacular coastline, scenic lakes, majestic mountains and glaciers, and a magnificent virgin temperate rainforest. Olympic National Park has a wealth of geological formations, including rocky islets along the coast formed by a continuously receding and changing coastline, deep canyons and valleys formed by erosion and craggy peaks and beautiful cirques sculpted by glaciation. Olympic National Park is also the lowest latitude in the world in which glaciers form below an elevation of 2,000 meters and occur below an elevation of 1,000 meters. The park's relative isolation, high rainfall, strong west to east precipitation gradient, 10 major watersheds and rugged topography have combined to produce varied and complex life zones, from coastline to temperate forest to alpine meadows to glaciated peaks. As a result, the park is rich in biological diversity and has a high rate of endemism. Olympic National Park is of remarkable beauty and is the largest protected area in the temperate region of the world that includes in one complex ecosystems from ocean edge through temperate rainforest, alpine meadows and glaciated mountain peaks. It contains one of the world's largest stands of virgin temperate rainforest, and includes many of the largest coniferous tree species on Earth. The park's varied topography from seashore to glacier, affected by high rainfall, has produced complex and varied vegetation zones, providing habitats of unmatched diversity on the Pacific coast. The coastal Olympic rainforest reaches its maximum development within the property and has a living standing biomass which may be the highest anywhere in the world. The park's isolation has allowed the development of endemic wildlife, subspecies of trout, varieties of plants and unique fur coloration in mammals, indications of a separate course of evolution. At over 373,000 hectares, of which 95% is federally protected wilderness, the property is large enough to contain ongoing geological processes, glaciation and changing coastline, an evolution of the many and varied forest types. The park's proximity to 8 federally recognized tribal reservations, of which it shares boundaries with 4, provides opportunities for cooperation to protect park resources. The Olympic Coast Marine Sanctuary provides a buffer for marine protection, and federal and state forest lands offer additional opportunities for boundary protection and connectivity with the larger lands. Designated by the U.S. Congress in 1938 as a national park, Olympic National Park is managed under the authority of the Organic Act of August 25, 1916, which established the United States National Park Service. In addition, the park has enabling legislation which provides broad congressional direction regarding the primary purposes of the park. Numerous other federal laws bring additional layers of protection to the park and its resources. Day-to-day management is directed by the park superintendent. Management goals and objectives for the property have been developed through a general management plan, which has been supplemented in recent years with site-specific planning exercises as well as numerous plans for specific issues and resources. In addition, the National Park Service has established management policies which provide broader direction for all National Park Service units, including Olympic. The National Park Service works closely with other land and water management agencies in larger North Pacific region to protect shared resources. One example is the North Pacific Landscape Conservation Cooperative, which brings together science and resource management to inform climate adaptation strategies to address climate change and other stressors within this ecological region. Mountain goats, Oreamnos americanus, introduced to the property in the 1920s, may be causing significant changes in the natural ecosystem. Research has suggested that the mountain goats have reduced plant cover, increased erosion, and shifted plant community dominance toward more resistant or less palatable species. They have been recorded feeding on at least 3 of the endemic plants, and some concern has been expressed that these species may be endangered by the mountain goat. Habitat loss outside the park also appears to be impacting other species within the park, such as the endangered marbled murrelet and the near-threatened northern spotted owl. In the longer term, climate change may impact the ranges of dominant plant species, altering habitat and threatening endemic species in the park. The Elwha Ecosystem Restoration Project is the second largest ecosystem restoration project in the history of the National Park Service after the Everglades. With the removal of the 64-meter Glines Canyon Dam and the 33-meter Elwha Dam, along with the draining of their reservoirs, the park is now getting the slopes and river bottoms to prevent erosion and accelerate ecological recovery. The primary purpose of this project is to restore anadromous stocks of Pacific salmon and steelhead to the Elwha River, which had been denied access to the upper 105 kilometers of river habitat for more than 95 years by these dams. In 2008, the fisher, Martes pennanti, was reintroduced into the park, restoring an important component of the park's native wildlife and enhancing the ecosystem's integrity. Long-term protection and effective management of the site from potential threats requires continued monitoring of resource conditions, such as through the NPS Inventory and Monitoring (INM) program. The North Coast and Cascades INM network, of which Olympic National Park is a part, has developed several vital signs to track a subset of physical, chemical and biological elements and processes selected to represent the overall health or condition of park resources. In Olympic National Park, these vital signs include water quality, climate, landscape dynamics, intertidal ecosystems, landbird populations, and others. One of the most primeval parts of the lower 48 states, Olympic National Park covers nearly 1 million acres of the eponymous peninsula in Washington state, 95% of which is designated wilderness. While the typical image of the park is a dark, damp, and overwhelmingly beautiful temperate rainforest, the park also shelters alpine highlands, tranquil lake shores, and a wild Pacific coastline that seems totally untouched by humans. Olympic is one of the places that President Teddy Roosevelt recognized as an endangered national treasure, protecting the area's snow-capped peaks and lush forest with national monument status in 1909. That set the stage for a struggle between the timber industry and conservationists that segued into the ecological wave that later swept the Pacific Northwest. In 1938, Olympic was designated as a national park after an act of Congress that was signed into law by President Franklin Roosevelt. While it's possible to enter the park from more than 24 spots off the Olympic Highway, U.S. 101, the most popular is via Port Angeles on the peninsula's north shore. The city's Olympic National Park Visitor Center provides the usual range of information, books, and maps, as well as hands-on exhibits on the park's human and natural history. 2 short nature walks, the Living Forest Loop, 0.4 mile, and Peabody Creek Trail, 0.5 mile, are a good introduction to the nature that lies ahead. Mount Angeles Road meanders 17 miles south into the heart of the park in a popular spot called Hurricane Ridge, where another visitor center offers exhibits and ranger-guided activities during the summer. Hikers have plenty of choices, from the short, flat Big Meadow Loop, a quarter-mile, to challenging treks like the 8-mile Wolf Creek Trail to Whiskey Bend. During winter, snowshoeing and cross-country skiing take over the hurricane. Equipment rentals are available at the gift shop. Heading west from Port Angeles, Highway 101 makes a beeline for Blue-Green Lake Crescent, renowned for both its beauty and indigenous trout species. Get out on the water with a rental boat from Fairhome Store. Hike or bike the North Shore via the 10.5-mile Spruce Railroad Trail, or take a refreshing dip at East Beach. Over on the park's super-saturated west side, the Hoh Valley is home to the park's most enchanting forest, a mosaic of moss, ferns, and giant trees that really does look like something from a medieval fairy tale or Sasquatch movie. This is also the gateway to 7,980-foot Mount Olympus, the park's highest point. Glacier climbing skills are necessary to reach the peak, but day hikers can reach the base of Blue Glacier via the 18-mile Hoh River Trail. As Anne and Mike Howard wrote for National Geographic, the Quinault Valley is a humbling place, home to some of the largest hemlocks, Douglas firs, western red cedars, and a 1,000-year-old Sitka spruce. The Howards suggest starting with the educational Quinault Rainforest Nature Loop, a half-mile trail through this textbook example of a temperate rainforest. Continue hiking on the various connecting trails or keep it mellow with a 31-mile drive around the exceptionally scenic lake. Separated from the rest of the park by private and tribal lands, Claylock area protects 65 miles of a wild Pacific coast carved by waves and tidal action. Riptides and floating logs inhibit swimming or surfing in these waters. The shoreline is more suited to long walks, exploring tide pools, and scouting for the harbor seals, porpoises, sea otters, and other local denizens.